My name's Matt Kyle, and I'm a member of our specialist health and safety team at Osborne Clarke. One of the questions I'm often asked from clients is whether they have a health and safety duty in respect of a company, perhaps in a complex chain of ownership structures, or where the delivery of the actual activity is being contracted out, or it's by a subsidiary, or also in terms of them as an individual, what's their responsibility in terms of health and safety. I just want to cover a few basics and suggest a few issues that you may want to consider and review. So broadly, if you're an employer, you have employees, you must ensure that the risk created by your activities to the health and safety of those you employ and others who may be affected are controlled. It's a responsibility that can never be fully delegated, even if those activities are contracted out. The much younger and better looking Matt from our team will cover management of contractors later in this week, so do look out for his video. Individually, employees have to ensure that their acts or omissions don't put others' safety at risk. Also, crucially, for those making strategic decisions, they could be in breach of their duty and commit an offence if the organisation itself is in breach, and that breach was due to something they did or failed to do in their sort of management capacity. The important thing being that if you should have known, given your role, but were unaware, probably because you didn't understand the scope of your role from a health and safety perspective, or the right systems weren't in place to support you, then you individually can be in breach. So all senior managers and directors need to be aware of this individual duty. So when should health and safety sort of come into your corporate and individual decision making? Well, in truth, it should be considered in everything. Health and safety should be there as a consideration in each of the decisions that are made by the business and in terms of what you do, and sort of demonstrate that in terms of some of the examples and areas of focus. Well, I just want to start with risk assessments. We always hear about those in connection with health and safety, clearly very relevant to foundation, but really, are they comprehensive? Are they relevant to the activities that are being done? And then, are they understood? Are they being trained out in terms of your policies, procedures, so that they don't just sit there as a risk assessment, but actually they're actively being used to implement effective control measures that people are trained on and understand and carry out in practice? Do individuals understand their role and responsibility? You know, are they supervisors? Are they managers? What's their decision making? What's the scope of what they're doing? What's the impact of what they're doing? Is it reasonable in terms of what's provided to those individuals? Do they have the competency through their training? Do they have the time and perhaps the physical kit to enable them to perform that role and manage safety? Supervision and monitoring, sort of mentioned, are there sufficient checks? Suite of health and safety procedures that may have been beautifully crafted by someone in the business or an external consultant, are they working in practice? Do managers know what their perhaps overall supervision role might be? Are they equipped to perform it? Have you checked, going back to contractors, have you checked that they're working safely? How's this done? How do we know that they are interfacing safely with the rest of your business activities? Incidents and near misses, are they being properly investigated? Are actions that come from that being followed through? And any changes actually briefed out? Not knee-jerk reactions, but actually thinking from a risk assessed point of view, going through your processes, working out why something happened, whether there could be something related that perhaps has been identified, and really going back and thinking through your processes, your communication, your training, your procedures to see whether actually it might have identified an area of weakness. Critical, this bit about senior management and board level engagement for me. It's got to be led from the top. It's not just about the nominated health and safety director or a manager, but a genuine critical review of how health and safety is being managed. So a documented trail of engagement and leadership, and viewing a good culture from the top. Just briefly sort of trying to put it all together, with a couple of themes in there, but what in overview does good health and safety management look like? Well, importantly, it's a continuous cycle. Often see that the planning and the doing is done quite well, but actually the checking and enacting to respond to weaknesses or gaps in that system gets a little bit left behind. What tends to happen is everything becomes very reactive. There's a place for that, but actually you want to be slightly more proactive, because you just rely on the sort of reactive stuff. So when things have happened, that's when health and safety really has already been compromised and, will be compromised in the future. And it's also when companies and individuals get exposed to liability. If you want to discuss a bit more of a health check for you in terms of perhaps your role and your discharge of health and safety responsibilities, but also your wider business, to determine, say, where responsibility lies, and if nothing is being done to manage health and safety and demonstrate that it's being done well, showing that you're discharging your legal duties, then please come and speak to one of our team.